Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really getting into the weeds of something pretty fundamental to how you probably use AI these days.
Yeah, how these systems actually, go out and grab the information they need, especially for those questions about what's happening now.
Exactly. We've got some really interesting source material on this, and our mission basically is to unpack the tech behind AI search agents
Look at the methods they're using currently.
and their limitations, which can be, well, frustrating.
Definitely. And then explore this promising new technical path that might make AI search way more reliable and, frankly, just better.
And this isn't just tech for tech's sake, is it?
Not at all. I mean, we're swimming in information, right? So
Yeah.
an AI's ability to find the right information, process it correctly, and give it back accurately and on time. That's not just nice to have.
It's essential.
It's totally foundational.
Oh,
If you can't trust how it's getting the knowledge, well, can you really trust the knowledge itself? Understanding this process, I think, is key for anyone using AI.
Okay, so let's unpack it. There's a core idea in the sources that jumped out at me. It says you literally can't spell the word research without the word search.
Huh. Yeah, it's simple, but really spot on for AI agents.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the modern systems, especially the ones doing complex stuff or needing fresh data, they're often set up as like multi-agentic systems.
To mimic how humans research.
Exactly.
Ooh.
Think about how you do it. You have a goal, right? Define what you need to know. Then you figure out a plan. How am I going to find this out?
Okay.
Then comes the big step, gathering information. And that almost always involves searching. Searching the web, searching databases, documents, whatever.
And you might adjust based on what you find.
Right. You refine things, maybe you change your plan, and then finally you pull it all together, synthesize it, and generate your, answer or report.
So search isn't just a step. It feels like it's the linchpin. It's how the AI goes from I need this to, okay, I have the data.
Absolutely pivotal. It's the bridge. If the search part fails or it's clumsy, the whole thing kind of falls apart. The final answer is compromised. So the tech behind that search matters a lot.
Which leads to the big question. These large language models, LLMs, they're amazing at text, but they're trained on past data, right? They don't just have an internet connection built in.
Nope. They're kind of locked in their training data time capsule.
So how do they search? If I asked about, I don't know, today's stock market news or the price of something online right now.
Right. This is where tool calling comes into play. It's the, let's say, the standard method right now. Since the LLM itself is cut off from live stuff, the web, databases, APIs.
It needs a helper. It needs tools.
Exactly. Tool calling is the mechanism. It's how the LLM asks for an external service or function to be run for it. It doesn't do the search itself. It calls something else to do it.
And there's usually something in the middle, an application.
Yeah, typically there's this intermediate layer, an application. Think of it as the bridge or the foreman.
Okay, tell me more about this application layer. What's its job?
So the developer who's building the AI system, they set up this application. And this application, it exposes those external services like a web search API, maybe the company's internal customer database, a flight booking tool, whatever. It exposes these as tools to the LLM.
Ah, so it presents a menu of tools.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Each tool gets a name, like web search. It gets a description, use this to search the internet. And importantly, it defines what kind of input the LLM needs to provide, like the search query itself.
So the application is the interface that says, here are your tools, here's what they do, and here's how you ask me to use them.
Precisely. So the user asks a question. The LLM looks at the question, looks at the list of tools the application described, and thinks, okay, I need the search web tool for this.
Then it tells the application.
Yep. It sends a message to the application saying essentially, use tool search web. And it includes the necessary info, like the actual search terms.
And the application catches that message.
Right. The application receives the tool name and the parameters.
Mm-hmm.
Its job is then to take that, format it correctly for the actual external service, like package it up for the Google Search API, and send it off.
So the application talks to the real tool provider.
Exactly. The external service does its thing, runs the search, queries the database, and sends the result, the data, back to the application.
Which then passes it to the LLM.
You got it. The application hands the retrieved data back to the LLM. Now the LLM has fresh information. It combines that with what it already knows and generates the final response for the user.
And it might even say something like, okay, I looked this up and found.
Yeah, often it does. It grounds the answer in that retrieved data.
Okay, that makes sense. LLM is the brain deciding what tool application is the hands actually using the tool. And this tool calling It's pretty common.
Oh yeah, very much the standard approach today. The source material confirms this, and lots of open source frameworks exist to help developers build this application layer and manage these tool interactions.
Okay, but you mentioned limitations earlier. If it's so standard, what's going wrong? The sources highlight some real problems.
They do, and they're pretty significant hurdles for reliability. First one, hallucination, but maybe not how you usually think of it.
Hallucination with tools. Does it just make up search results?
Not exactly the results, it's more basic.
Yeah.
The LLM might actually hallucinate the name of the tool itself.
Seriously?
Yeah. Based on your query, it decides it needs, say, the specific internal doc search tool, but maybe the developer didn't actually create or define a tool with that exact name. The LLM just invents it.
And tries to call it.
Right. Sends the request for the non-existent tool to the application. The application goes, I don't have that tool. Fails. No data comes back.
So the LM is stuck. It asked for something that wasn't there. That's not great. What else?
The other big one is poor selection. This is when the LLM does pick a real existing tool from the list, but it's the wrong one for your query.
Okay, why does that happen? Is the LM just not smart enough sometimes?
That can be part of it. Some LLMs are just better at this function calling or tool selection task than others. They might misunderstand the nuance of your request and grab, like, the general web search tool when it really needed to query a specific product database.
Makes sense. Using a hammer when you needed a screwdriver.
Kind of. But sometimes it's not even the LLM's fault, really. It can happen even with a smart LLM if the application setup is confusing.
How so?
Well, imagine the developer defines 2 or 3 different database tools that sound kind of similar. Maybe Product Database US and Product Database EU. Even a good LLM might struggle to figure out exactly which one is best for a very specific query, especially if the descriptions aren't super clear.
Ah, so ambiguity in how the tools are presented by the developer can trip up the LLM.
Exactly. It picks a tool, maybe gets some data, but not the right data, leading to a subtly wrong or incomplete answer. And this ties into the third major problem, complexity and maintenance.
For the developer building this thing, right?
Right. Remember, the developer has to write and maintain all that custom code in the application layer. The code that defines the tools, the code that translates the LLM's request into the actual API call for Google Search or Salesforce or whatever.
Okay.
Now, what happens when Google changes its search API? Maybe they rename a parameter or change how the results are formatted.
The developer's custom code breaks.
Bingo. Suddenly, that specific tool call fails. The AI agent's ability to search the web just stops working until the developer finds out about the change, updates their application code, tests it, and redeploys it.
That sounds like a constant headache, especially if you're using lots of different tools.
It really is. Keeping track of all those external API changes and updating your custom integration code, it's a significant ongoing burden. It makes the whole system quite fragile and hard to scale reliably.
Okay, so summing up the tool calling mess. LLMs might invent tools, they might pick the wrong existing tool because they're confused or the setup is confusing, and the whole thing relies on developers playing constant catch-up with external API changes. Yikes.
Yeah, it's not ideal.
So is there a light at the end of the tunnel? The source mentioned something else. MCP.
Right, Model Context Protocol, or MCP. This is presented in the sources as a potential way forward, designed specifically to tackle these tool calling problems.
Model Context Protocol. Sounds like it's about standardization.
That is absolutely the core idea. Think of it, the source suggests, like how REST became a standard way for web services to talk to each other.
Right, a common language for APIs. Made everything much more interoperable.
Exactly. Or another analogy they use is USB-C, one standard connector for power, data, video across tons of different devices. MCP aims to be that kind of universal connector, but between AI models and all sorts of external tools and data sources.
Okay, I like the analogy. Standardization is usually good, but how does MCP actually work differently? What happens to that fragile application layer the developer has to maintain?
This is the really key architectural shift. With MCP, the LLM still needs to interact with the outside world, but it does so through a standardized component called an MCP client.
Okay, a standard client.
And then there's an MCP server. This server is the part that actually connects to the external services, the databases, the web search APIs, etc.
Client and server, got it. So what's the revolutionary part?
Here it is. The MCP server that connects to, say, Google Search is built and managed by Google. The MCP server that connects to your company's internal database is managed by your company's IT team, or whoever owns that database.
Wait, seriously, the service provider manages the MCP server part, not the AI app developer.
Precisely. The burden of connecting to the underlying service and speaking the MCP protocol shifts to the owner of that service. The AI developer just has their LLM talk to the standardized MCP client, which then talks to the service provider's MCP server.
Whoa, that completely flips the maintenance problem.
It really does. The developer isn't writing and constantly updating custom code for every single tool integration anymore. That responsibility lives with the service provider, who knows their own service best anyway.
That's a game changer. So what are the knock-on benefits?
Well, first, you get that uniform interface. Because the MCP client speaks this standard protocol, the LLM can theoretically connect to any service that offers an MCP server without needing bespoke code for each one.
Like plugging different USB-C devices into the same port.
Exactly. It enables a sort of plug-and-play capability for AI knowledge sources. Models can connect, discover what tools a service offers, and switch between them much more easily. The source mentions this uses a mechanism called reflection. The server basically tells the client, in a standard way, here's who I am, here are the tools I have, and here's how to use them.
So the LLM client gets a clear, standard instruction manual directly from the source.
Right, and that directly addresses the other problems we talked about. It leads to much better trustworthiness.
How so?
Because the LLM gets that standardized, reliable description of tools via reflection straight from the provider's server, it's way less likely to hallucinate a tool name that doesn't exist.
Okay, that makes sense.
And it's also less likely to make a poor selection due to ambiguous definitions, because the tools are described clearly and consistently by the protocol itself, directly by the people who built the tool.
So clearer instructions mean fewer mistakes in choosing the tool.
That's the idea. It promises a much more robust, reliable, and importantly scalable way for AI systems to access external knowledge compared to the current kind of fragmented, high-maintenance tool calling world.
Okay, wow. So we've gone from needing search to the current tool calling method with its hallucinations and maintenance issues to this potential future with MCP offering standardization and reliability. Let's bring it back home. Why does this technical deep dive matter to, you listening?
Well, because this core ability of AI finding and using outside info is changing fast.
Yeah.
Largely thanks to efforts like MCP.
And that impacts more than just the folks building the AI.
Absolutely. For developers, sure, it makes building these AI apps much easier, less painful to scale. But for you, the person actually using the AI, it means these systems could become significantly more dependable.
Dependable how? Getting better answers.
Yeah, more reliable and getting you accurate, current information. If the AI can consistently find the right tool, talk to the right data source using a standard, trustworthy method like MCP, then the answers it gives you are much less likely to be based on old data or made-up stuff or info pulled from the wrong place entirely.
So understanding the shift towards standards helps you gauge the potential reliability of the AI you're using.
Exactly. It helps you understand why some AI might feel more capable or trustworthy, especially when you ask it about things happening right now or needing specific facts. It's about the quality of the information pipeline, really.
It's like knowing how clean the pipes are affects your trust in the water coming out.
That's a great way to put it.
Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive into, really, the engine room of AI research, how they reach beyond their training data. We looked at the bumps in the road with tool calling.
The hallucinations, the tricky selections, the maintenance nightmares.
And then the potential smoother highway offered by something like Model Context Protocol, aiming for that standardized, reliable knowledge access.
And maybe a final thought to mull over. If AI does get significantly better and more trustworthy at finding and using external information because of standards like MCP, how might that change how much we rely on AI? For everything from quick facts to really deep research?
That's a big question for the future. We've unpacked a lot of the technical stuff, but what part of this AI search journey stood out most to you? We'd genuinely love to hear your thoughts or any questions you have about tool calling, MCP, or just the future of AI getting information.
Yeah, your perspective really helps shape these conversations.
And if you found this deep dive valuable, maybe share it with someone else who's curious about what goes on under the hood of AI. Make sure you're subscribed to the deep dive so you catch our next exploration.
Hit that notification bell too.
Right, enable notifications. And if you enjoyed this conversation, giving it a like really helps other curious people find us. Thanks so much for joining us on the deep dive.